Last week, streaming giant Spotify announced its acquisition of Petty Labs, the maker of sports-focused social audio app Locker Room. Soon after, networking platform LinkedIn confirmed that they were doing some early tests to create a unique audio experience connected to one's professional identity. Spaces, Twitter's live audio chat feature, which had beta launched for iOS in December, was made available for Android as well in early March. There's also a lot of chatter currently about Facebook working on an audio chat feature. And later this year, billionaire businessman Mark Cuban plans to launch Fireside, which is described as a next-gen podcast platform that facilitates live conversation. There are many other apps experimenting with live audio setups right now, and all of this confirm the zeitgeist around social media currently, that social audio could perhaps be its next big frontier. This whole phenomenon has of course been fueled by the rapid rise of Clubhouse, the year-old live audio chat app. It recently clocked 10 million users despite being invitation only and currently accessible only to iOS users. In January, it raised $100 million at a $1 billion valuation from investors, including venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. Clubhouse is an app that essentially lets users live stream audio and set up interactive chat rooms, either for specific events or spontaneous conversations, none of which are recorded. Its buzz-generating high-profile users include Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Justin Bieber, among others. It's surely been a while since a social media company broke out in this manner, TikTok being the last one. Audio is firmly in the spotlight now. So why live audio and why now? The rise of live social audio was certainly amplified by the pandemic. More and more people stuck in their homes began tuning in to voice-only content. There was also visual fatigue from excessive screen gazing, and Zoom calls were often switched to audio only. Add to that the ubiquity of AirPods, the growth of the smart speaker segment, and this come-as-you-are liberation that audio readily offered. Mostly the fact that you could drop in onto a live audio room when you were doing chores, eating, creating art, driving or working made it all very easy. Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, notes that in recent years, content consumers have steadily been shifting their consumption in part from active to passive. One that doesn't require full focus, can be consumed alongside other activities and over longer periods.
Passive content consumption builds a deeper relationship between creator and consumer because it has a stronger subliminal impact. And audio has facilitated this shift in many ways. And while podcasts may have kickstarted this mode of consumption, social audio has spawned a whole new form of creator.
This form of creator is one who can retain attention for longer periods, can build content and audience on the platform of trust, and has the unique ability to use visual and active communication for the broader amplification of that content. According to Dugirala, apps like Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, and others draw upon this very insight, thus allowing for a more democratized form of content in this space, and this further helps lower costs and boost retention. So what kind of creators and content are we talking about here? Most users of live audio talk about an electric, intimate vibe that you come across in a voice-only atmosphere. And many have taken to this live oral theatre where they can connect with individuals globally, especially those with similar passions and vision. Filmmaker Tony Sterrett, who hosts some popular events on Clubhouse, is a founding member at Audio Collective, a company that helps creators navigate and negotiate the influx of brand opportunities on the app. She says that Clubhouse is truly a melting pot.
The absolute best part about Clubhouse is the smaller rooms. You never know who you'll meet. There could be a room with a mom who's also an entrepreneur in the cannabis space, or an astronaut and a celebrity all talking about food or art or vaccines.
The initial adopters of Clubhouse were mostly individuals from the tech, VC, and entertainment worlds looking for connection and network. But these quickly expanded to events like book and poetry readings, theatrical productions, parties, and game nights. Sterrett mentions a range here, from live listening parties on films, political debates, documentaries, to entrepreneurs sharing personal learnings and insight. Audio Collective especially aims to help brands tell stories that boost consumer confidence.
For instance, if you bought a pair of sneakers, aka trainers, then you get to sit in the room with the designer of those sneakers. You get to ask what their motivation was behind the design. Or you can tell your favorite author like Adam Grant how and why his book inspired you. Or you can be in a room with an entrepreneur like Kat Cole and learn about her journey from being a waitress at Hooters restaurant to being the COO and president of Focus Brands.
Users are definitely keen to have this kind of direct access to business leaders behind the products and brands they love. One interesting thing to note here is there's a certain aura of transparency around Clubhouse right now, born as it is at the cusp of what is called the trust economy. Hard sell isn't encouraged in this space, so for creator influencers to be able to grow sustainably, there are perhaps some do's and don'ts.
A do would be to definitely be your authentic self. I'm a creative, I'm a filmmaker, I'm from New York. I talk very candidly. And on occasion, not often, but I may use profanity. That's unique to who I am as a person. So if a brand wants to partner with me, they'd have to know that they are hiring a personality and not a robot. I engage very nicely with my audience. We have trust and a rapport. With live audio, you can't fake it. And if you try, the audience can always tell.
A don't would be to overpromise on what you can deliver. Sterrett cautions that just because audiences like your brand doesn't mean they necessarily want to engage with it unless one is really authentic. The focus should be on creating high quality, high value shows and content. And speaking of brands, Clubhouse's rooms and its dedicated audiences have no doubt made brands take notice. At Audio Collective alone, there have been hundreds of inquiries, and for Sterrett and team, the focus is for brand experiences to be as organic as possible.
I really love how the Clubhouse team is so intentional about not having ads. So we don't want to create experiences and talks that make a listener feel like they're being sold to. Even if a room is brand sponsored, the talk and experience has to be king. It has to be well thought out, and it has to prioritize user experience.
As a part of Clubhouse's Creator Pilot Program, Audio Collective gives feedback from both users and brands to the app's team, as the latter scales and reimagines what live audio can really be. Isobar India's COO Gopakumar says that for marketers, Clubhouse presents a great way to establish the brand, and they can latch on to the authentic narrative inherent in the platform.
There are opportunities to share your brand purpose, story, connect with customers at large, get their feedback, act as a focus group to know more about how and what they feel about the brand. The idea is to provide a lot of value in these conversations and hence be a go-to room for voice, for advice, and develop real-world connections that lead to business.
Now, talking about the space at large, the rules, the guidelines, and the technology are still evolving in social audio. The lack of moderation, a tough task for live social audio interactions, is a point of heated discussion right now. Content discovery mechanisms and algorithms are still in the learn and fix mode. And proper data and metrics will take a while. So, as some brands ride the wave, others are wary of jumping in. Here's Gopakumar's view.
While the platform evolves and improves content discoverability, brands can start small and start seeing how they are able to establish a connection with the audience and push the narrative, cause, or the story that they want to project. Going the influencer way is an easy way to start, but I believe the platform holds bigger potential for interaction for marketeers with their audience.
Varun Jugirala believes that the scaling up of podcasts and the adoption of the Clubhouse mode will make this space more mainstream.
It's important to note here that the modern passive content creator makes a base piece of audio content. That's largely his long-form podcast, could be his Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces chat, and also takes that and builds audiences on traditional forms like YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram by cutting it down into smaller forms or using it in other such interesting ways. So that's really kind of growing up, and podcasters and audio creators are becoming legitimately popular creators. And that's really where the scale is kind of coming from. And over time, brands will start investing in the pure play audio content as well. But the real monetization trick right now, and will be to a large extent for the future, is to kind of bring them all together and build them all at scale, where you're focusing on social content, your podcast or audio content, your live audio content with the social audio features, and any other form that you can find.
As for the Indian market's affinity for the oral, Gopakumar notes that audio is already quite popular with Indian audiences.
India is definitely a voice audio market. If you look at the growing interest in podcast and audio related platforms, it's self-evident that the audience is engaged and spending a good amount of time on these platforms.
Dugirala, a podcaster himself, is also very optimistic for this market.
This is especially exciting for India. There are two areas seeing large forms of growth: learning-focused content and motivational content.
The possibilities are limitless though. Clubhouse, for instance, has Native American communities engaging in language and culture dialogue. India, with its many subcultures, traditions and practices rooted in the oral form, could also see people finding voice on such platforms. Overall, for this space, most experts are optimistic and willing to bet that it will continue to grow even after the celebs have left and the pandemic subsides.